When I was 14, I thought my father was ignorant. By the time I was 21, I was amazed how much he had learned in 7 years. Mark Twain.
It never ceases to amaze me how my students will tell me, Dr. Keim, I'm not going to make the same mistakes my parents made. And I always tell them the same thing. You know, you're right. You'll invent stuff we never thought of. And the bad news for you guys is we're going to be your children's grandparents. And we're going to remember the crazy things you did. And we're going to tell your children about them when you're trying to pretend you never did them. That aside, I used to be so naive that I used to say in my speeches, please call your parents tonight and thank them. And then a soccer player from Springfield College 15 years ago charged down the aisle after I thought she was going to hit me. My dad had told me not to hit women, but I was reconsidering that because she was coming hard and fast. But you know how soccer players are. She stopped on a dime and she said, I'm not going to call my dad. And I said, well, that's fine. Why not? And she said words I'll never forget. Because my father forced me to have sex with him from the time I was 12 till I left for college. Friends, it was heartbreaking. As a matter of fact, I got in trouble later on at another school for saying that we should rewrite one of the 10 Commandments. Because I do believe that if God knew that men would rape their own children, he'd have sent Moses down with honor your mother and father so long as they act honorably. But if they don't, find a surrogate mother, find a surrogate father, find an older mentor that can believe in you and treat you like you deserve to be treated. So now I tell students two things. Number one, if your parents didn't do a good job or they were abusive, you don't have to get over it, but you have to get on with it. And how do you do that? You talk to a friend, you talk to a counselor, you talk to somebody who can give you some advice and some resources. You don't have to get over it, but you have to get on with it. You can't fly with wings like eagles if you've got a weight on your back because you're still mad at your dad for leaving your mom in 4th grade. It happens. When my wife and I got married December 22nd, 1979, our 4 parents in the front row of that church had 14 marriages between the 4 of them. Donna and I have been married 31 years. We're not cursed. We broke the chain. We work on it every day. And my wife describes our 31-year marriage as the 10 happiest years of her life. And I'm assuming they're the last 10. The reality is you can get on with your life or that problem becomes your problem. But if your parents did a good job, I want you to call them tonight. I know maybe you saw them yesterday or maybe you saw them a week or you're going to see them 2 weeks from now. The reality is call them tonight and tell them thank you. You did a good job. They, of course, will think that you're on drugs and probably have you tested when you're home. But once they get over that, they'll realize that, wow, we must have done something right. And in reality, even those of you that have the parents that you might deem the worst, at least they gave you the ability to breathe oxygen, develop your own style in life, and get better. Make peace with your parents because you can't go forward if you've got an anchor on your past.
Here's a challenging assignment. Write a letter to your parents. Share the most important lesson they have taught you. Pretend that after this letter, for whatever reason, you will not be able to speak directly with them again. Please handwrite the letter after 5 minutes of quiet reflection.